right, welcome to another episode, another movement doc session. Today we're going to be looking at peak span, and we talk about health span. Peak span is really thinking about the idea of like how long in our lives do we occupy a space that we're literally functioning at our peak. Obviously, a peak doesn't necessarily mean you have to be some like obsessive, compulsive person about this. It's really about finding balance and making sure that you're aware of and you're attending to the functional needs that you have, the movement needs you have, the ability to continue to acquire skills and continue to develop your body, your mind, your nervous system. And most importantly, you can't get by the idea of nervous system regulation. So today we'll kind of work through some things, and we'll kind of touch on really the nervous system regulation, the peak span concept. And if you look at a lot of the things we're doing, that's really the idea. It's really looking at what we do and how we do it, especially as we age, needs to really conform to the ideas if we want to really function at our peak, mind, body, spirit. We want to be able to maintain a presence of calm, assertive action in our life. And that's the best way I feel like we can really feel like we have some sense of control. And we also take initiative to control the controllables. And a lot of what we'll do today is really talk about how we can do that. So if you think about the most important functions of movement of your body's automation, it's two things most importantly, is breathing. Number one, because your body needs oxygen, your brain needs oxygen, and it was very sensitive to that, and it'll let you know really fast if it requires or if it's deficient of oxygen. And the second is just walking, just moving from point A to point B, gait. So how we walk is really one of the foundational movement patterns that we always want to consider is the path of least resistance. And when we talk about peak span and health span, that's one of the simplest ways you can really consider the two primary motor patterns that you don't want to ignore, which are breathing and walking. And you can think of walking, we have variations of the speed in which you go, which are all built off the same mechanics. So from walking to running, they're really utilizing the same counter-turning methods and the coiling mechanics that we talk about all the time. All right, so we talked about the breathing and the gait being the two most important kind of components that we can address and work on, and something that we can on a daily, as a daily practice, really get into. So really just moving an established amount of space. Like for me, 10 yards is like a perfect model for that. But when we think about the ideas of walking, and then now we're thinking about how we can get our nervous system a little bit more engaged when we're walking, it's just the basics of almost exaggerating the walk in terms of the counter turn, but then changing directions randomly. So you're not really considering and trying to overplan it. You're just trying to think about how you can vary and disrupt the patterns of gait, and giving yourself the opportunities to almost unfreeze your kind of thinking mind and your body and your moving mind. And so these just really basic walking. And the thing is too, as I think about getting older, it's just like not being scared to look stupid. Who gives a shit what people think? I think it's a good practice to even move your body and do things in ways where when you feel yourself being concerned, like, I'm not comfortable doing this because there's too many people around, that's something that you can exercise. That's something that you can build tolerance to. So I think it's important to think about building tolerance in ways that aren't just physical. Find the mental blocks. And then one thing I've done is, especially with martial arts and with yoga, is considering, is like when I'm in a public place, or whenever I'm like kind of feeling anxious about moving, or how people might be looking at me, and those feelings of anxiety. When we go on vacation and we'd be on a crowded public beach, but I didn't know the people, I would always practice shadow boxing or doing yoga, go out early in the morning when the beach is just starting to fill up, and then just practice literally just closing my eyes and being alone and connecting to myself, to God. And also think about movement as a form of prayer, because I think whenever you can quiet the inner mind and you can get the body, especially, you know, cultivating states of flow and trying to really, you know, I guess unblock motion more than anything, because a lot of movement, it's not like you're growing something that didn't exist. You're tapping into pre-existing, you know, wiring that's already there. So you just gotta almost think about unblocking. Almost think of like you start off with a kind of a dusty trail, maybe a dirt road that's kind of grown over. And then you gotta start off by just like widening the path, removing resistance, removing obstacles. And then as you kind of get a good connection, then you can always start to increase your speed. Like now, eventually you got a super highway with 8 lanes. You're gonna be able to move traffic along those pathways a lot faster and more efficiently. So lateral walking. With the lateral walk, we're thinking about bringing the heel up, really kind of plugging the toe down and getting the body used to kind of turning down into itself here. And then we're working on keeping our weight on this side and being light on that reaching foot. And then we're going to work on starting to open the hip, rotate it open here as we shift our weight over to the other side. So we're going to close it down, and then eventually we kind of can speed up that process. But if you notice, if my head's over this foot, that allows me to be light here, so now I can start to pivot this thing before I shift the weight onto it and shift my head to this side. And then I'm just going to carry this foot over. So just really trying to think about the basics of head over foot, and then rotate before I fully commit to the side. We have the habit of just sticking it out there and putting all our weight on it, but then now how do you rotate? So the idea is get the timing to where we can actually start to rotate and then shift. So I consider this a gait. It's just a lateral gait. Same thing as we're walking forward. We're just finding a different way to walk side to side. And then a lot of these tasks will make you tired because you're having to use your brain. So obviously a deadlift in a trap bar is so much healthier for you than a deadlift with a straight bar, because you're not stuck forward where it kind of puts the load all on your lower back. You're able to get into more of a balanced load to where that weight naturally kind of stacks and drapes down the sides of you and keeps the load from really putting a stress point on your spine. So what we could do, especially if you have trouble with depth, is use a little wedge here. And we're going to work on an important concept of just being unbalanced. If you think about it, if I'm in gait, I'm always in this position, or I'm always in this. I'm very rarely balanced, because unless you're standing. So when we're doing these, we're going to do them from what we call a curtsy. So I just want you to drop a foot back about to where your toe is about at the level of the arch, and then we're thinking of a base where the feet are right under the hips. And we'll kind of start off with a wedge here, and in this case we're just going to put our toe right behind that wedge. Our feet are straight, even slightly turned in, just to give yourself the ability to just tap into that outward motion of the knees to build your arch. Let's get a quick 5 on each side. So we're training, it's early. Well, it's not that early, it's 8 o'clock. But just kind of jumping straight out, getting it in. Seems like most people I know, as they get older, they enjoy getting the work in first thing, getting the body working. Well, I'm getting older too. I'm turning 41. What's today? What's the date? 12? Or the 11th? Yeah. So my birthday is this weekend. So it's building up. Now we're doing 10 reps on the second round, and thinking about speed is something we want to maintain. So maintaining fast twitch fibers and the ability to move fast with load is as important as anything. We want to maintain those fast twitch fibers as long as possible. Once you start covering them up with a bunch of dull bulk, but a lot of times it's from moving really slow. So we start slow, we finish fast. We want to control ourselves going downward, and we work on having good acceleration when we're coming up. And we think about something like this can get you a little geeked or get you a little amped up. I like the idea of breaking that tension, and then you'll see how we kind of blend things out here. So we're rapid firing. Go ahead and go up a little bit on this last one. So we're a little geeked up, heart rate's a little high. I either like to do some rebounding or some counter turning or some swing. So we got the good old Bulgarian bag out. A lot of times people don't like this because it challenges your grip. And it shows you a lot about when the grip fails, a lot of times you're not in your fascia. A lot of times we're shortening and we're almost burning ourselves out through the chain, and obviously the grip fails, but part of this we're trying to learn to maintain the length in the limbs, and that gives us a longer lever arm, gives us more momentum and torque in this circumferential plane. Think about how we can keep the arms extended long, find how to really move from the center. It's a heavier bag. Anytime you're crossing the midline of the body, you're exercising the way information moves from the right hemisphere to the left and how that goes down into the body. So it's very simple. Your goal here is to follow. So my chest is just following kind of the center of the bag. So it's, in a sense, I'm anchoring myself down. Not really worried about a lot of pivoting right now. Just want to get used to anchoring down in a really small range. You notice the bag, how it starts to move flat as it goes up. Say we'll go for about 30 seconds to a minute. We'll take about a minute rest in between. These are also skills we have to learn and develop. So I like the idea of just plugging in and making sure we're not getting so fixed on what we know, and really always try to add additional stresses to the body and challenge it in different ways. But also think about, if you're developing a skill, it should feel a little uncomfortable. It's going to burn more energy because you're having to think about it a little extra. But once you get efficiency in those things, that's where I really feel like you start moving the needle. All right, now the only difference is we're going to just add more hip action. So really just thinking about letting this back hip snap into place. So I'm not pushing, I'm actually just kind of letting it snap in. Really being strong on this side to keep the head from drifting and keep the trunk from swaying. We want to find where we can feel the center of gravity more in the center of the body. Really think about screwing in and think about locking into that tension and the outside of the IT band into the hip. I've had people comment, they thought I was swinging a Labrador around by his legs. AG1 and creatine, if you was wondering. All right, third round. There's no point in really doing more if you feel like, you know, especially if you're just learning. But really, this third round, we're just gonna go a little higher, and I'm gonna work around the upper side and really start working on turning through the arms and the upper body. But don't feel like you have to rush into something like this. It's really just more important the idea that you're turning and rotating. Don't hurt yourself trying to get too far ahead, because really you're trying to build everything off of the same movement patterns below. And this is one of those things you really want to take your time on developing, this folding and turning pattern. So pretty much same thing as before, but when we get here, we'll just work on making big circles first. You'll notice there's a way I can almost just follow the bag, follow it around. And if you don't get enough momentum, it's hard to get it over there. So you got to accelerate to the bottom right here, bottom. And then I'm going to turn this into a rotation. Woo. It's like nobody talks to me whenever I'm on camera. It's like everybody just like it ignores me. So like this morning I was bringing Ace to school, and he said, we're like 2 minutes from school, and he's like, my 11-year-old, and he says, Dad, I just need to close my eyes for 2 minutes. My eyes, I'm having trouble keeping my eyes open. I was like, well, let's think about this. I was like, you can close your eyes for 2 minutes and get 2 minutes of rest, but then you're going into an environment where you have to be awake, stimulated, and ready to go. And I was like, at 11 now, he's had trouble with focus and all these things. So I was like, do you trust me? He said, yeah. I said, well, let's do this. So I said, let's take 30 breaths, basically Wim Hof style. So I had him basically kind of hyperventilate for 30 breaths. And then I had him hold his breath as long as he could, and I timed him, and he held his breath for 1 minute and 20 seconds. Literally, he's 11 years old. And but he's had exposure to this stuff before, and he got done. His eyes are getting big, and they're like this now. He's not trying to open them up, they're just this way. He stimulated his nervous system. So when we think about nervous system regulation, and you know, we're talking about health span, and we're talking about, you know, really peaking as long as possible and living a quality of life in your body and being proud of your body and your physicality. But your way you regulate your nervous system is everything we're talking about. It's the key to unlocking your life, you know, in awareness and everything else. But the breath and the way we can manipulate the breath to create sympathetic activity when we're too drowsy and tired, versus rushing to the caffeine and sitting there waiting for some chemical to like get us right. Sometimes I jump on that treadmill and start walking backwards. I'm just like, you know, I'm just doing something that's going to help me move. And then as my body starts to, you start deepening the breath, and then you get off the treadmill after 3 minutes and you're like, oh, I'm here. Like, I'm awake, I'm alert. You know, same thing the cold does or whatever. But I think that's really a valuable insight. You know, it was really cool because I was like, that's so simple. And he went from being like, probably going in that classroom and struggling this morning, to now he's going in there like hit, you know, yeah. And obviously a kid has the most sensitivity. They're the most sensitive in terms of their body and their physiology. So it's like, that's a great way to start teaching your kid to not only just calm down with the breath, but also sometimes you need to excite yourself with the breath. And whatever tool, you know, you apply the tool that the job demands. All right, so we'll work from here, and all we really want to do is we're going to work on getting the hips up and forward. We're going to kind of lean back into that sling a little bit, and then we're just going to stay flat from the chest through the thighs, And just work on nice tight little rotations here. We're still letting the head shift over to the side. And we're just working on keeping the hips extended forward. And we're just working on building more extensibility in the front of the body. For a lot of people, this is where the hips are going to want to sit back to break that tension. So we're going to work on getting the hips and that tension built in the lower half, and then we're working on coiling off to that side, bring that elbow down. Not a huge range here. All right, Jimmy. Yeah, I got the cushions for Jim. That's it. See how he's unlocking? He's on the tops of his feet. He's actually kind of sitting back and putting more pressure on the tops of his feet. But his goal here first is to bring this more forward. More. No, not the hands, just the hips. Hands stay back, hips go forward. There we go. Now lean back. No, don't let the hips go. See the tension I'm talking about? There we go. That's what you're doing. You're just working on keeping the hips. See how it makes your glutes have to work to keep you in that tension? Now you'll start to lean off to the side. There it is. And this is the thing, like, that's why I love working with Jim, because he is a power athlete. He's an explosive human by nature, and he's refined it over his career, but he's a great example of where tension stores itself in the body. And really, if you think about nervous system regulation, the autonomic nervous system is the most highly wired to the psoas muscles, which is connected to your hip flexor withdrawal. So if you look at, like, if you stepped on a nail, that would be kind of the thing you did before you, and then you would recognize yourself doing it. It's not, it happens through your body, and then it gets recognized by your brain. It's in the body brain, the reflexive network. So that's where we tend, and then also obviously sitting and everything else is, so the idea of getting to where we can flatten and get the glutes to almost keep us in that tension. What it does is it spreads that load out through the entire fascial system. But it also is going to show you where where that compensation is and where that tension is in your body's avoidance. That's something that you kind of learn, but through the experience of him just feeling it out and then being like, that's interesting. Like, why are my hips doing that? Like, okay, now they're there. You know what I mean? It's just that little process of just checking some boxes and having some intentions. When you think about all this tightness, it's blockage. So so essentially he's getting 10%, let's just say. He's getting a fraction of a percent. He's definitely getting an improvement in the amount of blood flow that's moving from his legs through his hips, through his big arteries and veins that are coming through these areas, because he's released some pressure off of them. And so if you think about what that does in terms of circulating oxygen that's getting to your brain, and you think about, people don't realize this either, but your growth hormone is stimulated from glute, quad, core interaction. So those big vessels in your lower half, and really the more we're conditioning and activating these things, it's actually resulting in increased blood flow in your brain itself. So I think that's the thing about it. You were using these are the strongest pumps. And so by us engaging and working on building more motion and more compressive and expansion capacity in these areas, that's what's shunting and moving the blood and the cerebrospinal fluid and the lymphatic system, the lymphatic system, and all these things are all dependent on that. So that's something to consider too. If we think about, if we increase the amount of circulated, highly enriched oxygenated blood into our brain, then by nature it doesn't matter what supplements you take, your body is literally like a chemistry set. So some of these stresses and forces are creating cascade of physiologic events that increase growth hormone, that increase testosterone, that lower blood pressure, that reduce cortisol. This is a physical expression. So when you think about longevity and health span and peak span, and nervous system regulation, I want you to consider that use the body as a tool to enhance, increase the flow, the fluid mobility, the energy production, the oxygen delivery, the physiology, the mindset. It's all a part of the same system. But hopefully you got a lot out of that today. Thank you, Jim, for your help there. And then obviously, if you have any questions or if you want to know more about any of these things, just leave it in the comments. Please like, share, subscribe, and you know, make these things known. And if you made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you so much. Please be sure to hit that subscribe button. It's a big thing. A lot of times when people watch these things, it's just you forget. But really doing that helps us a lot and helps us get the word out to more people, especially the broken and hurting men and women out there, especially in the middle age, you know, 40, 50 years old. You start thinking about things a little differently. So really start to think about nervous system regulation, your life, your health span, and really your peak span. Really thinking about how you can increase the amount of your life that you can really feel like you're in a peak state. So hope you enjoyed that, and we'll catch you next time.